Nintendo's original Game Boy just turned 30 years old, and to celebrate, I wanted to highlight some hidden gems, some sleeper hit games. Everyone knows Tetris, Pokemon, Zelda, and Mario. These are great games that everybody has played. Instead, I wanted to showcase some of the more obscure or forgotten Game Boy games. Here are 10 forgotten original Game Boy games. Harry is actually a badass because he solves all of his problems by whacking them with a hammer. But this game reminds me a lot of Battletoads because you think it's a side-scrolling brawler, and it is, but then suddenly it opens up and becomes a shooter. There's even this swimming level with this cool water effect. Crazy, and it actually sounds not so bad considering this is a Game Boy game. Though here's the thing. Faceball 2000 is a first-party one. One of the coolest features is the 4-player multiplayer mode. Since everyone has their own screen, this is sort of like the original LAN party. While a little rough around the edges by today's standards, this was a technical marvel when it was first released and caused some pretty heated multiplayer games back in the day. The single player suffers from some steep game, hoard them in my closet for a few decades, then sell them on eBay to make my fortune. Spuds Adventure is a perfect example of how much Atlas games cost to collectors as demand increases but supply plummets. Currently, complete copies of Spuds Adventure sells for thousands of dollars. Besides carrying a high price though, a year later, Amazing Tater, which also carries a high price among collectors. Check it out if you can. Originally TurboGrafx 16. While I like ninja games like Ninja Gaiden and Shinobi just as much as the next guy, I always gave my nod to Ninja Spirit. Luckily, this GB port doesn't compromise anything when compared to the TurboGrafx 16 version. Besides being fast, ups create shadow versions that follow the player's every move, making you feel like a total badass powerhouse in the process. Never released outside of Japan, this could very well be. Don't miss this. Released late in the Game Boy's life cycle, this title has got to be one of the most overlooked games on the system. I originally picked up my copy when the game first launched as I was a big player of GoldenEye 006 Connected World. This game is broken down into individual stages. Along the way, players will obtain items to solve puzzles and defeat classic Bond villains like Oddjob. It isn't a lengthy a sequel to the NES's Balloon Fight, Balloon Kid expands upon the original in every way. The balloon trip mode allows the player to release the balloons, walk on the ground, then reinflate the balloons to take back to the skies. This is a simple game, but that's what makes it fun. Super Mario Land, the first Mario technical feat. Capcom even went as far as to release the totally forgotten sequel, DuckTales 2, also on Game Boy, which was also ported from the NES version. Still, these are awesome games to play today. And as a quick side fact, Darkwing Duck was a Zelda game for their portable system. Squaresoft released Final Fantasy Adventure. Even though it sports the Final Fantasy name, this is actually the first game in the action RPG Secret of Mana series. The real-time combat and exploration still holds up today. Version of the more adult-themed Castlevania series, players control Kid Dracula on his quest to stop Garamoth, a boss that appears in later Castlevania titles. Gameplay is reminiscent of classic Mega Man games, only with the ability to shoot upward. But due to low sales numbers, Kid Dracula is a sought-after title among collectors. Strangely enough, Konami is actually including the Famicom version of Kid Dracula in the Konami Castlevania Collection, a title that was never released outside of Japan. So there you have it, 10 often forgotten Game Boy games. While I are, thanks for watching, and remember to game on.